Yeah, I am just starting this now because it's Saturday and I just want to build a cubby house out of synthesizers. That would be awesome. Hi, welcome to Art of Rock every Saturday here on Angelspit's Twitch. And daylight savings kicked in across the world, so times may have changed. This time, every Saturday morning, follow Angelspit's Twitch, and there's going to be a whole bunch of awesome fun mayhem. That's the color of fantasticness. This is brought to you by Angelspit's Patreon. Thank you to those who support me on my Patreon. You keep me going, and I just want to try and keep everyone going, because I think the craziness is still going everywhere. Craziness will always be going. Breathing But Not Alive is a new single from Angelspit and Queen of the Static Opera. There it is. Go click it. Go love it. I hope you like it. I hope you like it a lot. Here's a new one from Ice Planet 9000 called The Ziggurat. And it's brilliant. And on the subject of brilliant, Bête Noire. And hello, Chris. Always good to see you, Chris. Bête Noire's just released Twee of Blood. It's a 1.5 minute moment of horror. And I just knocked the camera. I don't care. I knocked it again. Go listen to it. And also there's a whole bunch of other tracks on Spotify. These are made up from artists here on Art of Rock, and it's fantastic. Please jump on. And always, we're going to be, after this, we're going to raid over to MTV TV, where you will get 24-hour non-stop music from the dark side and the bleeding edge and a whole bunch of stuff you haven't heard of. MTV TV is really refreshing because you're going to hear something different. It's not the normal expected music that gets played on in clubs. So go enjoy it. MTV TV also has a Patreon. Go support them as well. Support and love. Hey, here's Alex. Please. Yes, Twitch is on a different camera. Trying something different. Always experimenting. Life's about experiment. Ivan, you have a crazy question. Hit me with that crazy question. Alex, welcome. I thought humor was good, but I've since found out that it's not good because, you know, you're trying to create this really amazing environment and then Carl starts trying to be funny and it's like, what is going on here? I'm going to throw the floor open to anybody who has some ideas. I have some ideas, but I want to hear what you guys have as far as ideas go. Or I could just start shooting my mouth off. Droney McDrones. Okay, so if you're actually using... No, I won't start. Alex, go. Beautiful. Awesome. Rob, your hand was up, but now it's down. I love it. Damn it.
We're just at practice.
Okay, my bad. I've new system. I'm goofing up, and the question is, between songs, what do you do? Thank you, Chris. So between songs, what do you do? Alex has got his hands up, and then I want to shoot my mouth off for a second. Surely there must be software to help with this. Alex, go.
So I remember there were live gigs from Skinny Puppy from the 80s where they just had delays that just continued. And I don't know if they changed any patches in the meantime, probably. And yeah, they let the delays run free, and maybe they even changed the delay time so that there were like tape style delays that had this feedback loops going. That was like something interesting.
Back then they were running everything through the PCM41s. And we're going to use that in plural because I'm fairly certain they had several on stage. And yet back then, like everything to set up between songs was fully manual. I mean, they didn't click, go to the next thing. So, like, filling that space was direly important back then. And it's kind of the same. I don't think we're that much better these days because, like, the load times they're not good.
Silly question, but can you make a giant Ableton project with every song in it? Can you merge projects?
I don't think so. Also, I think that would get ugly.
Because I think some people do that.
I want to shoot my mouth off here, can I? Okay, so it depends on how complex your setup is. Like I know, for example, Brian from the Gothicals puts everything as MP4 tracks with audio and backing videos. And then he sets up a playlist and it just goes wham, bam, 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 one after the other. Always remember, leave a few seconds of silence after each track because people want to clap. And they want to know that it's okay to clap. And if you're actually like using old school samplers and stuff and you're actually doing like load times are involved, having a delay pedal or something where you can go manual for up to 30 seconds is wonderful. And then, you know, slowly using that to bleed into the next track is really cool. Cubase has a range function. And in a range function, you can set different tempos. And because I have to have MIDI, I have like... So I'll have the stereo backing track. I will have MIDI for the vocoder. I will have audio for another vocoder. I will have MIDI for DMX. And I have other crap going on as well. I don't know why. But... so I need to have MIDI time synced to what's going on for me. So I need to have everything with tempo changes. And Cubase's arrange is amazing. And arrange is, even on the few free versions of Cubase, there's arrange. So yeah, I would so be saying, but there's got to be a software option for this, Ivan.
There is a thing called Gig Performer.
Tell us about Gig Performer.
It looks like it does some very fancy. I haven't gotten it yet. You know, I'm not ready for that, but it looks like it does some very fancy stuff. Basically, it's built for like running all your hardware, running all your VSTs, but not being a DAW. You know, so really it's about like send and change programs to where they need to go and making sure that, you know, like MIDI's going to where it needs to go, that's currently configured correctly, and then that, you know, going out to the right destination. Super handy. Also, it can play backing tracks for you, and the load times are crazy fast because it's not a full-on DAW. Yeah. Also, it looks like it's probably threaded better than most DAWs are, because DAWs are like have that like, you know, big single process that everything ends up having to go through, and that slows everything down, causes problems.
Awesome.
So we're getting ready to start doing, you know, live-esque stuff. We're gonna do the Zoom show thing, but I want to use that as a place to debug what our actual live shows are going to be like, and so it's time to start thinking about this stuff.
Can I ask you, do you have MIDI, or is it just audio? Is it 2 tracks of audio, 1 track of audio, 5 tracks of audio? what is the live backing situation?
So, like right now, we're looking at many tracks of audio. Lots of stems, lots of discrete devices generating audio.
Can I ask you, are you doing lots of audio so the sound person can mix you properly? Okay. Oh my God, no! Don't do that. Don't do that. Is the sound person a dedicated member of the band who has an absolute, complete, and total vested interest into this band, aka you? Or is it just the sound person at the bar? Okay, you just handed yourself a loaded gun and you stuck it in your mouth. Yeah. What? Okay. What you need to.
What I would really ideally like to be able to do is, get a MIDI, get an audio interface that can just supply 2 channels back to the front of house, and we handle all of the goodies.
Oh my God. Okay, can I give you my definition of a sound person at a gig? While you're mixing, going, something's wrong.
Oh yeah, no. Yeah. They're doing anything but paying attention.
Yeah. So what I want you to do is I want you to mix everything down on good set of speakers as a stereo file. You don't even need a stereo file. It can be mono. And if you want to do something clever, or the left track goes to the house, the right track might go through effects units, or it might be a click track or something. Do you have a drummer?
No, thankfully we don't.
That very true. Keep it as simple as you possibly can. Just, oh my God. I mean, like, if you wanted to do something crazy, you could always mix these tracks down to 5.1. So, this track's here, you split it over 6 tracks, but don't do it. Have everything mixed. Make it absolute foolproof and idiot-proof, because when you turn up, oh my God, to do a whole mix on your stage, so that involves a mixer, that involves a whole bunch of cables going to the mixer, that involves someone tweaking shit. See if whatever it sounds like on a CD, on a good recording, is what it's going to sound like always. So just make it sound like a good recording. If there's not enough bass or too much bass, you fix that at your mastering stage. Even more reason to get somebody who's a mastering engineer, because they have good bloody speakers. Simplify the mix. If you're going to play the stuff over the top, that's great. Do that. Simplify it as much as you can. Sound people, it's not really fair to expect a sound person to know what your mix sounds like, so they probably can't do it. And it's not because they're incompetent. My imitation before may have been bad, but I've had that experience more times than I can count. Something is going dreadfully wrong and they're looking at their phone, even at major fucking festivals. I don't know, maybe everything's different in your life.
You can do all the sound check you want for the show to an empty room. As soon as you fill it with people, everything has just changed. Yes,
everything has just changed, but that's the room and the PA. That's not on you. Quarter decent sound people are going to go, wow, there's more people in the room now, I'll add a bit more tops. Or it's sounding a bit boomy, I'll take some bass out. And you're allowed to say that to them. If the mix doesn't sound well, just dip the bass a little bit, or do whatever it is you got to do to make it sound good in your room. Okay, so I'm just gonna. I see Alex and Aussie Rob. I see you. Just let me finish. As you can tell, I'm quite traumatized by this. And this is turning into group therapy, and I apologize for that. Ivan. So besides a stereo backing track, what else have you got? And don't make it go boom, 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 stereo. In fact, if you want to make it go boom, 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 stereo, you do that. Whatever you want, that's your call.
For a live show, I don't think stereo is a good...
I thoroughly agree with you. Mono is the way.
You want anybody in the audience to actually hear the whole show.
Yes, you do. You really do.
Just the part that happens to be near them.
That's great. So therefore, you've got a free track. You're going left to the front of house. Right can be doing something else. Can be going through a delay line or blah blah blah. Tell me, what other live instruments besides vocals are being utilized?
Yeah, so we have vocals. We'll have guitar. We'll have bass.
Great.
Depending on the song. And then variety of hardware synths.
Great.
So,
Is there a vocoder in there?
not yet.
Okay, well, what you could do is the right track could be vocoder pads and other things. So that just goes straight into the vocoder, and whoever sings over it, the vocoder is already locked because it's the right track. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, or you could...
Consistency.
Yeah, be throwing it to delays or all sorts of things. So that sounds like a really cool, simple, straight-ahead setup. And when you're doing something like that, because there's no MIDI, is that correct?
Well, I mean, a MIDI, like...
No, actually backing track MIDI.
Oh, yeah, right now, no.
Okay, good. Oh, shit, here's Diana. Okay, so, you could do all of this on your phone. Yes, you could. I mean, in a room, what's the difference between a 320 MP3 and a WAV file? Nothing. No one is going to pick it. No one is going to pick the difference. Trust me. The difference is that everybody can have a set list and everything else set up on their phone, ready to rock. With MP3s, there's your set list, and it just goes from one to the other. You could be building in 20-second atmosphere song, and everybody's got the same playlist on their phone. And look, then you just... So many people do it these days, they're ready for people to turn up with their laptops and iPhones. Like, honestly. Or do it as a 96K 24-bit thing on your phone. Doesn't matter anymore. It's all data, and there's infinite data because we live in Happy World. Happy World. Send me a postcard from Happy World and tell me how the fuck it's going. Yeah.
On Wednesday night, I'll get you a postcard from the Museum of Human Happiness. So.
Oh, that would be wonderful. I would really like that. I still see you guys wanting to talk me down from this ledge. So that's what I think you should do. And everybody in the band gets a copy of that, so in case your phone... And take a charger. Take a fucking charger. The amount of times... And put your damn phone in airplane mode. Jesus Christ. And if there's other phones going on, use them to stream it to Twitch and all of that modern gafoobery. I've got issues, man. I really have issues. So much of this shit I gotta talk through. Can I if you want to reply, please reply. But Alex and Rob have been patiently waiting, saying, "Carl, shut up."
For the show setup, for the song setup, we'll have backing track. We'll, it's gonna be like 90% of the hard stuff, and then we're going to be like playing real instruments as well, because I don't want to just stand around on stage and like stare at the audience while it's happening. Like, part of the performance.
Or gaze at your shoes.
Gaze at my shoes, yeah. Or, just sit there and like dial and knob back and forth.
Brilliant. This is great. This sounds fantastic. I love it. Be a bunch of very badly behaved people. That is my advice.
Yes.
And all of the crap that is going on in the world and in your personal life that's too much to handle, take it out on stage. And everybody will go, yes, I love this band. Would it be all right if I throw it to Alex? Because he's got a brilliant idea that's going to melt my brain. Alex, enlighten me.
Great timing. I think there is a series on how to perform live with Ableton Live on the YouTube channel Sonic State. It's quite comprehensive. And they also go into detail with how to integrate hardware synthesizers and so on. So I think you could maybe pick something up there.
I love it. That's a brilliant idea.
If you want to go really pro, I think there are like portable audio interfaces that have like parity where you can run two laptops simultaneously, send MIDI to both, and both send audio at the same time, and when one goes down, it automatically switches to the other one. It's like $500 or something.
Cool. And when you start playing bigger gigs, yes. Also, in the buffoonery of yes, get a wireless mic, a good wireless mic. Get a Shure, like a good fucking wireless mic, and get in-ears. Get in-ears. Get the vocalist to get everyone to get in-ears, because if you want to do this, just get fucking in-ears. And there's several hundred...
IEMs are nothing.
What?
IEMs are nothing.
IEMs, what's that?
In-ear monitor.
Yes. Do it. Rob, I want to hear your amazing wisdom. Go.
It's very old wisdom. Reliable, repeatable, and dynamic. So, hi, I'm Rob. I'm a roadie. I drive, I bring water, I mix, I make sure everything's plugged into the right place. I'm there 10 minutes early for the sound check in the new venue that we haven't been before, where they want to use their house speakers and not our JBLs or whatever. So I was always with the band when they do their practice at home, in the garage, wherever it was, setting up all the wiring, labeling all the cables, making sure everything was right. And then when we get into the venue, doing the sound checks with the fold backs as well as the house speakers, plugging in the mixtape in between the tracks, play Akadaka while they're having a drink break or whatever. And recording. I used to record off the main mixing desk as well. And my primary job was quality control. So I'm sitting in the audience with everybody else who's listening to your band, and I'm at the center of the venue monitoring the levels and paying attention to the artists, looking at their faces and their finger pointing, saying this needs to go up and this needs to come down. If you don't have that person who knows what your band sounds like, good luck. That would be hell. I sympathize with Carl, because that would be traumatic if it sounded like shit and you all were practicing for so long to sound so good, and some half-assed dude is trying to do your mix and they're just destroying it. So repeatability is important, making sure they practice with you, and also reliability. Try not to use equipment that breaks and stops and fades and gets jammed and runs out of battery power. And I used to deal with the early days with people using computers for backing tracks, and I guarantee every single gig the computer would crash.
Yeah.
And so you have these little digital players that before phones were a thing. You had these little dedicated digital players with audio out, little DAT player or whatever. And those things rocked. They were so reliable. They were really good quality audio. You just press play and pause whenever you had to, and it was good to go. And we tried to get rid of as many computers out of the band as possible, and just went to backing tracks on reliable playback devices, things that wouldn't vibrate and jump and get interrupted.
And eat the tape.
And eat the tape, exactly. So, and dynamic. You have to have somebody paying attention and looking at the band members and identifying issues, identifying when somebody's about to trip over on the frickin' cable on the stage. And
if the mic cable goes down, you pick it up and put it back on place.
Right. Simple stuff. But if you don't have that quality control, it really degrades your performance and your crowd gets pissed off. And they'll go and get a beer and go to the 12 because they're not entertained.
And they won't buy your merch. Yeah.
Yeah, that's all.
Thank you, Rob. Thank you. If we get time today, I would love to reminisce about, but this is for later, about the reality of older technology and how hard it was doing electronic music in the late 80s, early 90s, all the way up to fucking 2000s. It was really hard. I just want to say that you are a gift from the gods, that to have someone like that in a band, I have never had someone like that in a band. Although Jekyll Switch kind of did, but not really. Like, you need a production manager. Like, when you get serious about it, you've got to take a production manager out with you who is doing, like you said, they know the music, they know how everything comes together, they know if something goes wrong, You don't even have to ask. You look over, they're on the stage, crawling around on their hands and knees, patching shit, making sure stuff works. Because the amount of times computers have broken down, or the USB connection to the sound card, the audio device has fallen out or something like that, and suddenly mid-song everything fucking stops. Because it's been vibrating, or the table's been vibrating or something like that. It's just really fucking hard, because you're taking a studio out with you, and the amount of stuff that can go wrong in a studio is I'm sorry, I'm traumatized. Thank you, Rob. That was awesome. Hey, Alex, talk to me.
I think luckily, since computers switched to solid state drives, they have become more reliable because they don't get thrown off by vibration. But I wanted to say the following: make sure your system sounds of your computer don't get out of the PA. Make sure they get either turned off or somewhere else, because otherwise, if there's an error, the audience will hear dong. And and also I want to repeat: have as few moving parts as possible, as few cables as possible, because every cable is a point of failure. And even though I've only had like 3 gigs with like more complicated equipment, slimming things down has been a blessing.
Yes, and put everything electronic in a rack box, in like one of those gator boxes, which is light and you can take it on a plane, and it locks closed, and have everything pre-wired. So all of the jacks, all of the connections, absolutely everything are there. And when you open it, cables might fall out the back, and those cables are going to get patched into other things. I would also be saying, if possible, don't take a whole bunch of synthesizers, rack melt your main synth, and go into it with a controller. And if you want to be really clever, you might take 2 controller keyboards out, and built into your rack is a MIDI merge box. So those 2 controllers, both of their MIDI is going into the one, synth. For example, an Emulator 4 or something, that are so cheap. Like an E64 is so cheap these days. They're like $200-300, and they're you would have to load up once on those things. Take the fucking and if there's electronic drums, they go through there as well. So synth player 1, their output goes out sub 1, output group 1. The drums go out output group 2. There it is, mixed, easy. Ivan, I see your hand. Go.
So, eating tape, you definitely made you had a look on your face that suggested you know what that tastes like.
Yeah,
Sorry, man.
yeah.
The place we've been seeing a lot of live shows at lately, I am fairly certain that their audio guy is there to ruin vocals.
Yeah. Actually, as well, on that, it's really worth getting a vocal effects processor specifically for voice. It has got compression, delay, chorus, tiny amounts of distortion built into it, and each song is on its own preset. So you're going to turn up with it EQ'd, compressed, ready to rock. Because, as mentioned, the sound person doesn't give a fuck. Usually doesn't give a fuck. And if you don't give them a t-shirt, they're going to give a fuck. They're going to give negative fucks, which is... I'm really starting to get traumatized right now. This is terrible. And also, I just want to say that I'm trialing this new camera here, and I don't know if it's a good idea because it's high def. I just look like shit. I think I want to go back to this one where it's like I'm all... like it's got a filter over it. God help me, please. Alex, talk to me.
Well, I like the new camera.
Thank
Anyway,
you.
I have a question. Would you recommend for gigging getting a keyboard synthesizer or a desktop or rack synthesizer and a keyboard controller? What would be better in terms of traveling?
I think a rack that goes in a rack box that is protected, and then you have a piece of shit, who cares, 4 or 5 octave, I got it for $50, controller, because every couple of gigs you can break it, or if you don't try and break it, is what I guess I'm trying to say. It's so easy to replace. You can get it on a Craigslist in any city whatsoever. Thanks, Chris. Any city whatsoever, and it's super easy. If your main computer goes down, you're 5 shades of fucked. The problem with a full synth is it's big, it's heavy, and it's very difficult to replace that on the road, which is a reality, and you have to think about it, because if it's out on its own, it's going to get beer on it. And these racks are, they're mostly waterproof and stuff.
Or if you do take a really expensive synth on the road and it gets broken, sell it really, really cheap, and I will buy it and fix it and love it forever.
There you go. I really want to take an Emax out. But it's just, I don't think... And they're so fucking stable. I don't think I want to do it. I don't think it's smart. Like, it would be smarter for me to take out an Emulator 4 or something. Or, a K2000, they're really cheap as well. But the thing about, when you take out a synth or something, it's best to have all of the volumes set and everything set up inside it, so there's no kerfufflery, and reverbs and all that stuff set. My God. Oh boy. Does anybody else have anything they want to throw in about this Terror? And it's fun. It's great fun. You have to do it. Gigging is so much fun. Because, Mark, I know you had a question. And if you got time later, maybe we'll reminisce about how much fun it was doing electronic music. Yeah. Mark, hit me with that amazing question, my friend.
No, sure. So my question was, well, I had 2 questions, and we can address another one another time if it gets too long. But how to get started writing lyrics, and how to get started practicing to do vocals.
That is brilliant. I will throw the floor open, because I sure have ideas about that one, my honeys. Does anybody want to jump in on that, or should I just start shooting my mouth off? Alex, go!
So, writing lyrics is something I struggle a lot with. And I think I have had the most success with just letting the music run on loop and try to improvise something to it. I just try to sing, to speak, to whisper something while it plays and plays and plays and plays. Yeah, that's what worked best for me. I think my best lyrics I've written just listening, and then writing stuff down, editing everything in notepads, and just crossing things out, moving, and just trying. That were my best lyrics.
That's awesome, man. If I could make a suggestion, step 1, put the song on a mobile device, like your phone, and take a pair of headphones. Go to a cafe, or a library, or a bookshop. Maybe go to a cafe first, then go to a library. And have a good coffee, listen to it, and then go to a library and look up, what does this song remind you of? Does it sound like you're in space chasing a spaceship, or are you, what are you doing? What does the music suggest? Then whatever it does, when you go to the library, flick through books about movies or art that are close to what this is. How does it make you feel? Does it make you feel oppressive, angry? How does it use those key words and start from there? I think it's really important to, whenever you have an idea, to jot down that idea in your phone notepad or your notepad or wherever it is, so you can always be going back and going, well, I've got this song feels cold and angry. I've got lyrics about cold anger. I'm going to throw them in there and see what's going on. You might then, when it comes to actually laying vocals down, you might then like Alex said, put it in a loop and just go weird language over it, or whatever. And you might end up screaming if you want to sing and you don't know where to start. Have a keyboard handy and tinker on the main. It might be in D, so just tinker on a D, F, C, dun 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 dun. You know, butter butter butter, and from there something may come. Remember that the way that your fingers come up with melodies is different to the way your voice comes up with melodies. Very, very different to the way your voice comes up with melodies. It's going to be sung, so the finger stuff's just a rough guide. If it's not being sung, don't worry about it. If you go out of tune, don't worry. It doesn't matter. Just have fun and be inventive. That's my advice, is be inventive. Go crazy, crazy, be inventive. Does anybody else have anything they want to throw in here as well? Alex.
So, how I got back into singing was I picked up a song that I really liked and that sorry?
I was sticking my finger in your ear.
Okay.
Don't worry, I'm being childish.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, what I did is just pick a song I really, really liked and that I was like singing by myself if I was alone, and then tried to sing it karaoke. That was how I started singing again. Because prior to that I just was like in choir as a child and did some minor background vocals in my first band. But that's what really got me started. Of course, taking lessons is always great, but if you can't do it, I think the best thing is to record yourself and then just to try to analyze how different mouth sounds translate to an audio file, and maybe different mic placements and so on. It's really difficult because there's much ego involved, so I think the best thing you can do, if you can, is to just try to see it as an experiment. Maybe to do ridiculous things that like not by accident but just to go over the line just as a goal, like try to go way up there and way down there and don't expect it to sound good, just try to experiment and be silly.
That's excellent advice. Experiment and be silly. You are going to allow yourself, Rob, I see your hand. You're going to allow yourself to be stupid, silly, childish, make mistakes, and be totally embarrassed about it. I have a story, actually, who cares? And also the idea of if there's a song that's a similar tempo and a similar key, and you really like it, use that as a place to start. In fact, you might even slot that song into your project, stretch it and pitch correct it so it's sitting in there in the right place, and you might jam vocals over the top of that song. Then pull that song out and see what you got. I have a friend of a friend of a friend. No, I went to a lecture once of an engineer who was recording Brian Ferry, and he said Brian Ferry would go in the studio and he would go wild. And he said it sounded funny and stupid and humiliating. And he said he's got these tapes, but he'll never let anyone listen to it because from that came Avalon, one of those beautiful albums of the 80s by Brian Ferry. Because this guy was fucking working with Eno. Come on, what do you expect? Beautiful, 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 crazy music. And he was just yodeling. Rob, hit me.
Yeah, that everything that you've all said about writing lyrics resonates with me as well. You know, finding your own space, feeling the mood of the song, and identifying what you feel you want to sing about with that music or that mood that it puts you in. The lyrics are one thing, the vocals is something completely different. I mean, don't misunderstand your own capabilities. You need to practice vocals to understand what your range is and how you present your vocals in a production environment. So everyone can whisper, everyone can talk, got it. But when you project your voice, you need to understand what your voice sounds like at certain ranges and certain octaves, and know your boundaries and your limits. Know what you can and can't do. And if you're going to go husky and scream things and destroy your vocal cords, if that's what you want to do it. Just know that that's what you've got to do to get there, and prepare for it. So that has an impact on how you write lyrics. So knowing your vocals is how you're going to write your lyrics. So there might be an artist that you really love, but you can't sing like them at all. It's probably not a good idea to listen to them too much longer if you want to produce your own lyrics and sing to them. Find, I'll give you an example. Michael Hutchence from INXS, he hated performing, he hated singing, he was good at poetry. And so he developed a lot of poetic material, but he didn't really get to sing properly for years. It took him a lot of practice. So be aware that it's going to take time, like learning to play an instrument, to perfect your vocal technique, and project that forward into a microphone or out into an audience. Don't just talk to your face. That's really important. And then understanding the intonations and that you can produce that's similar to other artists, that you can start incorporating into your songs, that give you your uniqueness. Try not to copy everybody. Try to work out what is your unique sound and how do you make the best of it.
Yeah, wow, man, that is so true. Because you're not going to sound like who you want to sound like. You just won't. And you've got to yell your voice out or sing it out or whatever. But the path to finding your voice is really hard. It took me about easily 5 to 10 years to be comfortable with this voice. And people are going to say some really shitty things, and they may or may not mean it. Just don't worry about it and keep going. They might comment on your accent. They might say, oh, you sound a lot like da-da-da, and you don't want to sound like da-da-da, you want to sound like you. You just got to keep going. And it's really hard, man. I think finding your voice is kind of like similar to a spiritual journey. Like, it really is. This is what I sound like. This is a reflection of my soul. And you have to be okay with the way your soul sounds. And everybody hates their voice. Because the voice you're listening to is vibrating through your head, so it sounds deep and beautiful. But then when you hear your voice, it's like, it's tinny and crap and I hate it. You just got to keep going. You just got to go. You just got to not care and go. So if you find yourself going, I hate my voice, that's kind of normal and it's okay. You just got to keep going. Yeah, and don't jump to vocal effects too soon. You find your voice. Totally agree, Rob. And if you're pushing your voice too hard, don't. There's a whole bunch of videos and stuff about how to correctly project. We've talked about this before here. Yeah, you just gotta. It's like giving birth to your inner child or something. I don't know. Does anybody else want to talk more about this or ask another question or?
This is a good question for the gothsicles.
Yeah, it is, because I know Brian threw a lot to. For people to accept his voice, and only on recent albums, I know that people have gone, this is what Brian sounds like. Because when Brian laughs and talks, that's what he sounds like. When he's laughing, that's his voice. And, yeah. So, yeah, and finding that self-acceptance is hard. Diana, I see your voice and your hand. Please talk to us.
Just a little thing. I've had a hard time with my voice because my voice completely changed after I had the trach in, and now it's still partly open, so air escapes. So my voice has completely changed. So I'm still learning how to accept my voice as it's changed and realize it's not what I had before.
Yeah.
Just that.
keep singing. And you know,
Yeah, it's not.
we'll treat it like
I
it's
appreciate that.
treat it like it's a unique thing. You know, it's you know, and I'm really sorry that's happened. The best thing you can do is go. Scars are beautiful, and a scar on your voice, push through it and allow it. You know, you may have, if air's creeping through, as long as you're not damaging yourself, that's a harmonic, and that harmonic could be the most beautiful, distinctive thing if you follow your way. Just be careful that it's not nodule territory, because that's bad. But thank you for sharing that. Alex.
I have a question. I don't know if anyone has an answer, but has anybody successfully lost his or her ego? Yeah, ego. How do you pronounce it?
Yeah, ego. Wow.
Ego. Yeah, because when I was like 14, I just created without thinking about an audience, without thinking about how it's gonna be received. I just did it. And I try to get back to that, but it's not easy. So if anybody has some tips, I'd appreciate that.
Yeah. Is it a question of ego? Is it a question of really not liking yourself or not having confidence? Or is it a question of being concerned and fearful about the audience that you perceive? They're all monsters that are in your own head. I got to talk about... Rob, what you got?
It's all about confidence. I lucked out one day and my daughter couldn't continue her piano and vocal lessons one day because of her sports, and we had like 4 weeks left, and I said to the instructor, hey, can I take in and do my daughter's lessons? And